Thank you, John. I appreciate that introduction. It was my privilege to serve on the Zions Bank Board of Directors for some 20 years. I developed a great appreciation for the energy, the time its leaders so freely gave to these mountain communities. Now, because I was on the board, I have to say a little about the bank tonight, if that's all right, Scott. I've always had a great impression about the banking industry, its contribution to build communities, and each location where their bank was established. In my hometown in northern Utah, we had 3 banks. The leaders of those banks were our local community leaders. The Eccles Bank had Norm Salisbury, Cache Valley Bank, Fritz Chabb, the First National Bank, Al Masani. These were the finest men in the community. Utah history is one of building communities. It is in an early church conference, it was Brigham Young that singled out 6 of his apostles and had them select 50 people and go form new communities, all the way from Brigham City down to San Juan County. Of that, Elder Erastus Snow wrote, "What man, however good his desires, can control himself or his family in their habits and manners of life and fashions without the aid of a surrounding community? What sensible man can hold me or my brethren responsible in that respect, either for themselves or their households, unaided by the community? But when a community learns to work together and are agreed to a common purpose, what else can't they accomplish? In union, there is strength." With these small independent towns that was established in the Utah Territory, there came a need for institutions to service the people. Zion's Mercantile Cooperative Institution was formed in 1968 to fill the needs to help the households be established. Next came, in the fall of 1873, the Utah Savings Bank and Trust Company, directed by Brigham Young. At that time of the bank's formation, the first settlers had only been in the Salt Lake Valley for 26 years. Utah had 30 more years before it became a state. It was the first state-chartered savings bank and trust company. The bank prospered. During the panic of 1893, the bank managed only to remain solvent and continued to grow. As the 20th century began, Utah Bank and Savings and Trust Company made significant contributions to the business of the Utah communities. The bank financed such firms as Brigham Copper Company, Salt Lake and Los Angeles Railroad, Big Cottonwood Power Company, the Salt Lake Gas Company, who later became Kennecott Copper, Union Pacific, Utah Power and Light, and Mountain Fuel. In the Depression of 1907, the loan interruption and the growth of this Utah savings was in that Great Depression year. Then came the great crash of 1929. Still, the Utah Savings Bank was in a sound financial position. On the morning of February 15th, 1823, the customers made a run on the bank. They waited in long lines outside the bank to get their money. The tellers were instructed to give all the requested withdrawals their money. In 2.5 days, $1.5 million were handed out. Near the end of the second day, President Heber J. Grant placed a sign on the bank window, which read in part, "The bank is very strong. It is in a clean liquid position. It can pay off every depositor's amount. Fear for its failure is absolutely without foundation. but positively foolish. There is not a safer bank in this state or in the whole nation. The lines dwindled, deposits started to come back in. By the end of 1958, Utah Savings and Trust Company merged with the First National Bank in Salt Lake. Its surviving institution became Zion's First National Bank. In 1960, Keystone Insurance Investment Company, had formed in 1955, brought the majority of the stock of Zion's and changed the name to Zion's Utah Bank Corporation. It kept its name until 1987 and then changed it to Zion's Bank Corporation. With the merger of First Security and Wells Fargo in the year of 2000, Zion's Bank became the largest bank headquarters in Utah. Now is extended to Colorado, New Mexico, Idaho, California, Washington, Oregon, and Texas. Continues to grow. Out of the banking organization came such great names that supported this community. Orville Adams, John Langdon, Roy Simmons, and I can mention many, many others. The tradition continues, and those who have given decades of service to build special community spirit that we enjoy here today. Tonight we honor Harris Simmons and Scott Anderson, who are truly giants in our city. They have given so freely of their time and the talents for the benefit of each one of us here this evening. My first experience with Harris was when his father introduced him as a member of the board of directors. I had great admiration for his father, Roy. I watched Harris very carefully during those early days on the board to see how he measured up to his noble father. I could not get a reading on him. He attended the board meetings, didn't say very much, and rarely entered into the discussions. I thought to myself, this is no Roy Simmons. When his father named him president and chief executive officer, I was shocked. In fact, another director and I went to see Roy and asked him if he had really thought this all the way through. Roy just leaned back in his chair and said, "You don't know my son. He is one of the smartest bankers in this country. Since he returned to our bank, it has been doing better than any time it has in the past. The future will be in his hands." He then told me that when he joined the board, he came to me and said he would not speak very often, but get deference to his father's leadership. How wrong in the judgment could two men be? It taught me never to judge a man by how much he talks, but how much he does. It was a very sad day when President Hinckley came to the Temple meeting and told us to go back to our offices and resign from all the boards. The church had now grown worldwide. Our full time was needed in our church assignment. But I've watched across the street a great deal to see what was going on in this little bank. And now is a collection of banks in 10 western and southwestern states, with all the individual identities and local leadership teams that contribute generously to the communities in which they are located. Harris still finds time to give generously to his time to a local business community, to the culture, to the arts, to the recreation, to education, and many other venues that are here represented tonight. In addition, he's a great family man, devoted to his wife and the four future bankers that will come on to fulfill that legacy of the Simmons family. Harris is also a man of great judgment. He brought Scott Anderson to the bank. Scott has a rich Utah heritage. A highly respected federal judge, Alden J. Anderson, was his father. The energy of this man is unexcelled. He never seems to say no to a request in the community. I remember just after Scott was asked by Harris to become president of Zion's Bank, he phoned President Boyd K. Packer and asked for an appointment to come across the street and see him. He told President Packer he was overwhelmed with this opportunity and asked for a blessing that he might be equal to the responsibility. The request was granted. Since then, he's made a wonderful contribution, not only to the bank, but to the whole community. I remember on an occasion I had a visitor from another city who wanted me to tell him about Salt Lake City. I was explaining the virtues of our beautiful city and told him we had a complete package here that the city had to offer: business, culture, recreation, education, sports, and excellent leadership. One of the questions this man asked me is, why is the Anderson name so dominant? There seems to be an Anderson on every leadership team. And why do so many of them name their son Scott? I laughed and said, oh, there's just one Scott Anderson. His talent and energy gives to all that serve them. How grateful we are for these men with talents to innovate, like a Harris Simmons, who not only brings new and exciting methods to business, but also his business responds to the local communities in which they're located, involving its leadership in making the cities where they are better towns in which to live. How grateful we must all be for the skill and energy of a Scott Anderson, for the leadership he gives to our communities, makes them more independent and a better place for all of us to live. God bless both of you for your example of leadership in this great community. You have touched our lives and had a profound effect on the good of the communities in which you served. We salute you as true giants in our great city. Thank you.